Okay, so here's a number that I had to triple check because I genuinely didn't believe it the first time. Red Bull sold almost 14 billion cans last year. 14 billion. That's nearly 2 cans for every single person on the planet. And here's the part that really got me. The company isn't really in the business of selling a drink anymore. Not really. Red Bull owns a Formula One team. It owns soccer clubs on 3 continents. It owns a media studio that produces more original content than most cable networks. It even threw a man from the edge of space, on purpose, just to watch what would happen. So I started digging into how exactly a flavored, caffeinated sugar drink turned into one of the most valuable private companies on Earth. And what I found is honestly one of the cleanest rule break stories in modern business. Because Red Bull didn't grow by spending more money on the can. It grew by almost completely ignoring the can and pouring everything into the world around it. This is the story of how a soda company decided it didn't want to be a soda company at all. The year is the early 1980s. An Austrian toothpaste salesman named Dietrich Mateschitz is on a business trip to Thailand, badly jet-lagged, when a local drink gets handed to him in a tiny brown bottle. It's called Krating Dang, Red Gaur, named after a wild Asian bull. It's been sold for years by a Thai pharmaceutical entrepreneur named Chaleo Uvidya, mostly to truck drivers and factory workers who need to stay awake on long shifts. It's sweet, syrupy, and absolutely nothing like a Western soft drink. Mateschitz drinks it, and, by his own account, it actually works. The jet lag lifts. Now, most people would have just bought a few cases to bring home. Mateschitz instead tracks down Chaleo and makes him a proposition. Let's take this drink, carbonated, rebrand it for a Western audience, and split the company 50-50. In 1984, they shake hands. Each puts in $500,000. 49% for Mateschitz, 49% for Chaleo. 2%, almost as an afterthought, to Chaleo's son. It takes 3 years just to get the formula and the marketing right. Red Bull officially launches in Austria in 1987. And here's the detail I can't stop thinking about. From day one, Mateschitz makes a decision that on paper looks insane. Most beverage companies spend their marketing money the same way. TV spots, billboards, taste the difference campaigns. Mateschitz looks at that playbook and basically throws it out. Instead, he starts sponsoring things nobody else wanted to touch. Cliff diving, breakdancing, underground motocross. Tiny, broke extreme sports athletes who couldn't get a single other sponsor in the door. His logic, as he explained it later, was simple. Don't advertise the product. Build a world the product belongs in. If people see Red Bull next to the most extreme, adrenaline-soaked moments on the planet, they don't need a commercial to tell them what the brand stands for. They feel it. And it is wildly effective. By the 1990s, Red Bull gives you wings is one of the most recognizable slogans on Earth. Even though, and I have to say this clearly, Red Bull does not give you wings. And the company actually paid out more than $13 million in 2014 to settle a lawsuit over exactly that kind of claim. Red Bull denied any wrongdoing and called it the cost of avoiding a longer legal fight. But the slogan stuck anyway, because by then, it wasn't really about the literal claim. It was shorthand for an entire feeling. Here's the part I think is genuinely brilliant, though. Somewhere along the way, Red Bull stops thinking of itself as a drink company that does marketing and starts thinking of itself as a media company that happens to sell a drink. They build their own production studio. They start filming the events themselves instead of just sponsoring someone else's broadcast. By the 2010s, Red Bull Media House is producing magazines, documentaries, and TV content. And in 2012, they live stream a man named Felix Baumgartner jumping from a balloon 24 miles above the Earth, breaking the sound barrier with his own body on the way down. 8 million people watch it live on YouTube. At the time, it's the biggest live stream in the platform's history. Think about that for a second. A drink company didn't just sponsor a space jump. It produced it, filmed it, and owned every second of footage. Sponsorship is one thing, but somewhere around the 2000s, Red Bull makes a much bigger move. It stops renting attention and starts owning the source of it. In 2004, it buys an entire Formula One team outright. Today, Red Bull Racing is one of the most dominant teams on the grid, and Red Bull also fields a second F1 team, RB. Underneath it, meaning 2 cars on the starting grid, are effectively Red Bull billboards, every single race, in front of a global audience. It doesn't stop there. Red Bull buys a struggling Austrian soccer club and turns it into Red Bull Salzburg. It buys a 5th division German club and builds it, in barely a decade, into RB Leipzig, a regular in the Champions League. It launches the New York Red Bulls in American soccer. In the last couple of years, it's even taken stakes in Leeds United in England and Paris FC in France, plus an entire professional cycling team. And here's the thing that I think is the real blueprint of this whole story. Red Bull's sponsorship spending alone crossed €1 billion a year for the first time back in 2022. $1 billion. On top of running actual sports franchises. Most companies would call that a marketing budget gone completely out of control. Red Bull calls it an asset. Because every one of those teams, every Formula One broadcast, every Champions League match, it's not an ad buy with someone else's logo getting more airtime than yours. It's their logo, on their team, generating content they own forever, that they can clip, repost, and monetize for years after the final whistle. They basically figured out that owning the stadium is cheaper, long-term, than renting the billboard inside it. So does any of this actually work? Let's just look at the receipts. In 2025, Red Bull sold nearly 14 billion cans worldwide and pulled in just over €12 billion in revenue. That's roughly $14 billion. Both record highs, and both up double digits from the year before. The company now employs almost 22,000 people across 178 countries, and it's still privately held, almost 50-50, between 2 families who've never taken the company public. After Dietrich Mateschitz passed away in 2022, his stake passed to his son, Mark, still 49%. The Uvidya family in Thailand controls the rest. No stock ticker, no quarterly earnings call, no activist investors telling them to cut the F1 budget. Just 2 families, splitting around €500 million to €1 billion a year in dividends, off a drink that costs pennies to produce. Here's what I keep coming back to. Coca-Cola spends a fortune trying to convince you their product tastes better. Red Bull barely talks about taste at all. They sell you a feeling, speed, adrenaline, the edge of what's possible. And then they spent 40 years building the actual infrastructure of that feeling. Race teams, soccer clubs, a film studio, a man falling from space. The can is almost a souvenir, a ticket stub for a much bigger show. Honestly, I think this is one of the most instructive business stories out there, not because of some shady scheme, but because of what they got right that almost nobody else was willing to try. Most companies ask, how do we make people believe our product is better? Red Bull asked a totally different question. How do we make our product part of something people already want to believe in? I might be wrong, but I don't think this playbook works for most brands. It took decades, and it took a founder willing to bet the company's marketing budget on cliff divers nobody had heard of yet. But for the brands willing to take that bet, the blueprint's right there, in plain sight. €1 billion sponsorship line at a time. If stories like this, about the weird, hidden machinery behind the brands you use every day, are your kind of thing, that's exactly what we dig into every week here on Boardroom Files. See you in the next file.